The hum of Miami International Airport at 2 a.m. was a low, constant thrum, a mechanical heartbeat that most people never noticed. For Malik Santiago, it was the soundtrack to his life. 45 years old, with quiet eyes and hands that moved with an almost surgical precision, Malik had been a night cleaner on Concourse G for 12 years. His record was spotless, a testament to his punctuality and his uncanny ability to blend into the background, a ghost in a fluorescent-lit labyrinth. He pushed his industrial-grade cleaning cart, its rubber wheels gliding silently across the polished terrazzo floors. He passed slumbering passengers curled on benches, their faces illuminated by the glow of their phones. He passed the closed gates, the darkened shops, the occasional security guard patrolling with a weary gait. TSA agents, accustomed to his nocturnal presence, offered perfunctory nods, their eyes scanning beyond him, never once pausing to inspect the contents of his cart. He was furniture, part of the scenery, as invisible as the air he breathed. Before I walk you through the full story, I just have a small favor to ask. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments. What city are you watching from? It's always amazing to see how far this audience is reaching. For years, Malik had observed, not just the dust bunnies under the seats or the discarded coffee cups. His observations weren't casual. In the worn leather-bound notebook he kept tucked deep in his locker, beneath a spare uniform and a half-eaten granola bar, he meticulously recorded every tiny detail. He wrote in a tight, almost illegible script, using abbreviations only he understood. G14, 0215, 3-man, 1 with comms. This meant Gate 14, 2:15 a.m., 3 guards, 1 with a radio. He logged badge scan sequences, the precise paths of the tarmac shuttles, the exact duration of staff rotation gaps. He noted the model numbers of surveillance cameras, the blind spots where their lenses couldn't reach. His past life as an HVAC repairman, a trade he'd left behind when his wife's medical bills became insurmountable, had given him an intimate understanding of the airport's hidden arteries and veins. He knew the crawl spaces, the utility tunnels, the forgotten electrical closets. It was in one of these forgotten spaces, while inspecting a ventilation shaft near Gate G12, that he noticed it. A dead zone in the CCTV coverage. A perfect unblinking void between Gate G12 and the main shuttle bay. A place where a man and a large, heavy object could simply cease to exist for a few critical minutes. Malik's hands, calloused from years of scrubbing and hauling, trembled almost imperceptibly as he wrote. The tremor wasn't from fatigue, it was from the weight of his motivation. He never spoke of it, not to his colleagues, not even in the privacy of his own thoughts. But the image of his daughter, barely a teenager, hooked up to a dialysis machine, was a constant, searing presence in his mind. The stacks of medical bills, the crushing $74,000 debt that grew with every passing week, were a suffocating shroud. The final entry in his notebook for that night was a chilling revelation. He'd intercepted a discarded Federal Reserve delivery schedule, a seemingly innocuous piece of paper. It detailed a massive cash shipment, timed to arrive on a skeleton crew weekend when staffing was at its absolute minimum. And then the clincher, a specific notation for Vault 3, indicating its keypad hadn't been updated in 9 months. 9 months was an eternity in airport security. The numbers, the timing, the vulnerabilities. They were all aligning. The stage was being set. The pre-dawn air on Saturday morning was thick with the promise of a humid Miami day. But on the tarmac, it was still cool, almost crisp. At precisely 1:45 a.m., the 2 armored Brinks trucks, massive and imposing, rumbled onto the secure apron. Their arrival was a well-oiled machine of efficiency and caution. Sealed pallets, shrink-wrapped and heavy with the weight of millions, were offloaded with quiet haste, bound for a local Federal Reserve satellite office. $26 million in crisp, untraceable bills. Malik Santiago watched from the periphery, pushing his cleaning cart with a practiced nonchalance. His heart, usually a steady drum, beat with a slow, deliberate rhythm, a counterpoint to the thrum of the idling truck engines. His plan, conceived over months of meticulous observation and refined through countless sleepless nights, was elegant in its simplicity. Intercept the cash before it ever reached the bonded vault. The groundwork had been laid the day before. Using an old discarded work order template and a stolen supervisor's stamp, he'd fabricated a false maintenance ticket for an urgent HVAC alert in the lower cargo tunnels. The ticket, slipped onto the dispatch board during a shift change, was just plausible enough to go unnoticed by the overworked night crew. It was his ticket to ride, his justification for being where he shouldn't be, on the tarmac shuttle, a phantom on a mission. At 2:12 a.m., the cache was loaded into Vault 3's staging room for inspection. This was the critical window. The room, usually brightly lit, was now bathed in the stark, almost clinical glow of temporary work lights as the Brinks guards performed their final checks. Malik, positioned in a rarely used electrical closet just outside the staging area, felt the familiar tremor in his hands, but his focus was absolute. He located the hidden switch he'd installed days earlier, a small, innocuous toggle disguised as a redundant circuit breaker. He flipped it. All lights in the lower level flickered out. Not just the staging room, but the entire corridor, the adjacent offices, even the emergency exit signs. A sudden, disorienting darkness descended, punctuated only by the startled exclamations of the Brinks guards and the whirring of emergency generators kicking in. 11 minutes. That was the window. 11 minutes of controlled chaos. Just enough time for the backup power to stabilize and for the guards to regain their composure. He wheeled in his supply cart, a custom-built deception. Outwardly, it was identical to his standard cleaning cart, but its interior was a marvel of engineering. Hidden compartments held identical cash containers, meticulously filled with bricks and shredded paper, weighted to match the exact density of the real currency. He moved with a speed that belied his calm demeanor, his movements precise and economical in the dim, emergency lighting. Using a stolen RFID chip badge, acquired weeks earlier from a discarded uniform in the laundry room, he swiped it across the cage reader. A soft click, and the heavy mesh door swung open. The air in the staging room was thick with the metallic tang of fear and the faint scent of ozone from the power surge. In a blur of motion, he switched the pallets, his hands working with an almost supernatural efficiency. The real $26 million, now secured in his utility van parked just outside the service entrance, replaced by the worthless bricks and shredded paper. He was almost out when a voice cut through the lingering darkness. "Hey, cleaner, you're off schedule. What are you doing down here?" It was a rookie supervisor, fresh-faced and too eager, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. Malik froze, his heart hammering against his ribs, but his face remained a mask of polite confusion. "Off schedule, sir?" "No, dispatch control redirected me. Urgent HVAC alert, lower tunnels. They said it was critical." He gestured vaguely toward the dark corridor. He played dumb, a bewildered, obedient employee following orders. The supervisor, clearly annoyed by the power outage and eager to get back to his warm office, waved him through with a dismissive flick of his wrist. All right. Just get it done." Malik nodded, pushed his cart, and vanished into the shadows, the taste of adrenaline sharp on his tongue. The air in the restricted tunnel was cool and still, thick with the scent of concrete and stale jet fuel. At 2:39 a.m., Malik Santiago drove his utility van into its cavernous mouth, the single beam of his headlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. This was the final, most audacious leg of his escape, a route known only to a select few, connecting directly to the maintenance hangar near runway 27. It was a path seldom used, almost forgotten, and entirely unmonitored by the main airport security grid. He navigated the labyrinthine passages with practiced ease, the hum of the van's engine echoing off the bare walls. His destination was a small, unmarked bay, where a relic of the airport's past sat waiting, a heavy-duty maintenance shuttle, typically used to transfer fuel lines and massive cleaning equipment. Its logbook, he knew, only showed activity on Tuesdays, when the deep cleaning crews performed their heavy-duty operations. Tonight, it was a ghost. Waiting for him was Mr. Lugo, a man whose face was a roadmap of wrinkles and grease stains, a retired mechanic who still haunted the hangar, his loyalty bought with a substantial, untraceable sum of cash. Lugo, a man who understood the airport's true pulse, had reactivated the shuttle for a test run, a phantom journey under a carefully chosen FAA-approved maintenance code, a code that flagged it as a routine, low-priority movement. The old man, his eyes twinkling with a mix of mischief and avarice, gave a curt nod as Malik pulled up. "She's ready, Malik. Just like we practiced." Lugo's voice was a gravelly whisper. Malik quickly transferred the 6 heavy, real cash crates from his van into the shuttle's secure cargo bay, replacing them with the empty, lighter, fake crates he'd retrieved from the vault. He then parked his utility van back in its designated spot, making sure the interior was clean and devoid of any incriminating evidence. Security logs, when reviewed later, would show a janitor returning from tunnel maintenance. His cart empty, his movements entirely unremarkable. The maintenance shuttle, a hulking utilitarian beast, rumbled to life. Lugo, with a lifetime of experience in its guts, steered it with practiced ease. It moved slowly, deliberately, a silent leviathan gliding through the pre-dawn gloom. The beauty of this particular shuttle was its unique exit point. It didn't merge onto the main airport roads. Instead, it exited the hangar and merged seamlessly onto a nearby civilian cargo delivery route. A rarely used service road that wasn't scanned by automated systems, just visually cleared by a single, often bored, gate attendant. The attendant, a young man scrolling on his phone, barely glanced up as the massive shuttle, a familiar sight on Tuesdays, passed through. He waved it through, his attention already back on his screen. The test run was complete. By 3:10 a.m., Malik Santiago and the $26 million were gone, swallowed by the anonymity of the early morning city. The airport continued its endless cycle of arrivals and departures, oblivious to the gaping hole in its secure vault. Just 20 minutes later, at 3:30 a.m., the vault inspectors arrived for their routine check. The 2 Brinks guards, their faces etched with professional calm, began their meticulous count. They broke the seals on the first crate, then the second. Their calm evaporated, replaced by a chilling disbelief. Inside, neatly stacked, were not bundles of crisp currency, but bricks wrapped in shredded paper. A collective gasp, then a strangled shout. Panic, cold and absolute, erupted in the secure staging room, echoing off the steel walls. The silence of the airport had been shattered, though only a few knew it yet. The aftermath was a maelstrom of controlled chaos, a silent explosion contained within the airport's secure perimeters. TSA, FBI, and Secret Service agents descended upon Miami International like a swarm of silent, grim-faced bees. The airport, however, made no public announcement of the theft. The sheer embarrassment, coupled with the terrifying prospect of setting off mass panic among the millions of travelers who passed through its gates, dictated an absolute blackout. Internal memos marked urgent, eyes only, circulated like wildfire, revealing a horrifying patchwork of security flaws, unused, dust-covered scanners, outdated staff badges that could be easily cloned, and a rotating cleaning crew that, in hindsight, had never been fully vetted. The investigation began with the obvious. Malik Santiago. His spotless record, his quiet demeanor, his 12 years of invisibility, all now cast in a sinister new light. His locker, located in the cramped, airless janitorial break room, was immediately sealed and searched. Inside, they found nothing but the bare essentials: a well-worn mop, a sturdy plastic bucket, and a single folded piece of paper. On it, 2 words scrawled in a neat, almost artistic hand, all cleaned. It was a message, a taunt, and a chilling signature. The dragnet spread silently. Every employee with access to Concourse G, every security camera feed, every access log was scrutinized. But Malik Santiago, the quiet man who had perfected the art of blending, had simply ceased to exist. His home, a modest rental in Little Havana, was empty. His few personal belongings were gone. His daughter, the reason for it all, was nowhere to be found. A week later, the news filtered through the airport's grapevine. Mr. Lugo, the retired mechanic, had died of a heart attack. No foul play was suspected, the coroner's report stated. But a sharp-eyed FBI agent, sifting through Lugo's meager financial records, discovered that his long-standing bank account had been abruptly closed just days before his death. The timing was too perfect, the coincidence too stark. Another loose end, neatly tied. Malik's trail, already faint, vanished completely after a boat rental in the murky, alligator-infested waters of the Everglades. The rental agreement, signed under the name Harold Wexler, was for a small, unassuming fishing skiff. The boat was never returned. Search teams scoured the labyrinthine waterways, finding nothing but the oppressive humidity and the buzzing of insects. Weeks later, a lone fishing buoy was discovered drifting near the coast, far from any known fishing grounds. Inside, nestled among barnacles and seaweed, were several waterproof duffels. They reeked faintly of cash residue, a ghostly scent of millions. But they were empty. Months later, in a bustling customs office in Casablanca, Morocco, a weary agent, sifting through endless passport photos, paused. He swore he'd seen the face before. A man who looked strikingly like the grainy photo from the Interpol watch list. A man named Malik Santiago. The traveler had presented a French passport, perfectly legitimate, under a different name. The agent flagged it, initiated the verification process, but by the time the wheels of bureaucracy had begun to turn, the traveler was gone, a phantom in the bustling Moroccan night, leaving behind only a fleeting memory. The FBI's internal report, a thick, meticulously compiled document, was eventually marked closed. No suspect found. It was a rare, frustrating admission of defeat for the Bureau. Every frame of surveillance footage from Miami International had been reviewed, enhanced, and re-reviewed. But Malik's camera blind spot held. It was a perfect, unblinking void where a man and $26 million had simply ceased to exist. Airport officials, facing immense pressure and public scrutiny, quietly installed state-of-the-art thermal cameras, completely overhauled janitor clearance procedures, and implemented a biometric scan for every single employee, from the CEO down to the newest hire. The stable doors were finally bolted, long after the horse had galloped away. But the most profound consequence, the one that gnawed at the edges of the FBI agent's consciousness, was the quiet disappearance of Malik Santiago's daughter. Reported missing from her dialysis center just days after the heist, she had simply vanished without a trace. No ransom note, no desperate calls, just gone. The agents, seasoned by years of chasing shadows, understood. She wasn't missing. She was safe. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.